Welcome to this week's episode. It's a rainy week here in Southern California. I got so much good feedback from all of you on last week's episode where we talked about and kind of scratched the surface on nutrition for fertility that I want to do a part two this week and dive deeper on this topic of nutrition. It is such a big part of the work that we do with our clients, and it is a huge needle mover. So if you didn't listen to last week, go back and give that one a listen, but I'll give you a quick recap before we dive a layer deeper into what you can do with your nutrition to move the needle in a big way on your fertility journey. So, one of the big topics we talked about last week was getting enough nutrition. The majority of women we work with are simply not eating enough when they start working with us. Forget what you're eating. If you're not getting enough calories to support your body, your hormonal system is never going to do what it's supposed to do. The simplest way to say it is your hormones are not going to do what they're supposed to do to create a baby. If you're not getting enough nutrition, and most of you are sitting there going, that doesn't apply to me. I eat plenty. I could lose a few pounds actually. Like, I should probably lay off the food. But in reality, if you're not getting somewhere around 2,500 calories a day, you're not getting enough to support a healthy cycle. Studies show that the average active woman needs about 2,500 calories a day for a healthy cycle. And I'm telling you, that is far more than most of you are getting each day. When clients come to work with us, the average is somewhere between 14 and on the high end, maybe 1,800 calories a day. Here's what happens if you're under eating regularly. If you are in a calorie deficit by more than about 300 calories, for everyone's body's a little bit different, but somewhere between 4 and 8 weeks, what'll happen in those first few weeks is you will lose weight. Your body's like, okay, we're dropping weight. And then our bodies are incredibly smart. They were designed to be perfect. You are in this calorie deficit. It's been 8 weeks, and your body's like, you know what? We're just going to turn down the heat. We are not going to burn through calories as fast because apparently we're starving to death. I know that sounds dramatic, but that's literally what is happening inside of your body. Your body is like, we're not getting enough calories in, so we're going to act like we're starving to death. We're going to send the nervous system into fight or flight. It's going to screw up the adrenal process. It's going to screw up the endocrine system. It's going to make it really hard for you to get the optimal levels of sex hormones to create new life. Because what happens when the body thinks it's in survival mode, or literally does put itself into survival mode because it thinks you're starving it, is that it's like, well, we're going to deprioritize everything that isn't related to survival. What does that mean? Digestion starts to suffer. You might be constipated, gas, bloating, food sensitivities, abdominal pain. You are definitely not going to have optimized hormones because your endocrine system is like, well, the last thing we're going to do is make her more vulnerable by letting her create new life when I don't know if we're surviving for very long here because we're starving to death. And I know that's a very simple way of talking about some really complex biochemical things that are happening in the background, but that's exactly what's happening in your body if you're not getting enough calories. And I could guarantee that 95 to 99% of you fall into this boat where you're eating somewhere between 14, 17, 1,800 calories most days. Some days you like go out and you have a big dinner and you're like, oh, I ate like 3,000 calories. But then the next day you're like, oh, I need to make up for that. And you eat 1,200. This is a big part of your problem on your fertility journey. So we talked about that a lot last week. I always recommend, well, with our clients, we have them track within our app. But if you're, starting this journey and like, maybe I doubt it. I don't think she's talking about me. I think I'm the 5%. Grab Chronometer. It's a free app where you can track your food for a few days and see how many calories you're getting. Okay, so we talked about that a lot last week. That is first and foremost the biggest problem we see with our clients. What happens when your body goes into fight or flight and you slow down your metabolism? Basically, your thyroid gland does not operate optimally, meaning you're not getting enough thyroid hormone for critical processes in your body, like a healthy ovulation, to support a healthy implantation and a healthy pregnancy. Your thyroid is playing the most large role ever in your ability to get and stay pregnant. Also, if you are constipated regularly, if you are tired all the time, if you have an extra 5, 10, 20 pounds that you can't lose, or you're gaining weight even though you're doing everything right, those are all signs that you're fitting into this boat, okay? So that was what we went deep on last week. I want to talk about, let's say, okay, I know I need to get more calories in. How do I do that, and what should I be eating? Two big questions, right? And these could each be like 5 episodes by themselves or more. But let's talk about how do you get more calories in. I want you to start with breakfast if you're not eating breakfast regularly. And we get a lot of clients. I saw an intake earlier today for a new client who said, they understood the importance of protein in the day, but they said breakfast is 2 eggs and some berries. 2 eggs is 12 grams of protein. Guys, 12 grams, okay? We need 25, ideally 30 grams of protein in our breakfast to set the stage for blood sugar balance, healthy cortisol levels, all the things for the rest of the day, okay? So if you're eating 2 eggs every morning or some avocado toast with an egg on it, that's not going to be enough. You're going to want to get 30 grams of protein or so every morning. That can look like 2 to 3 eggs plus a serving of protein. And it doesn't have to be breakfast meat. People are always like, oh, is it bacon unhealthy? Roast some chicken thighs and have those in the fridge. One of my favorite things to do is make some ground meat, like some ground beef or an ancestral blend. This is a double bonus. If you can get an ancestral blend meat from like Force of Nature that has the organ meats blended into it, you can make that ahead of time for a few days in a skillet, toss it in the fridge, warm it up in the morning, and then make it into an omelet with a few eggs. That'll get you there. A Greek yogurt bowl will get you there. In a pinch, protein powder is fine. I don't like clients to rely on it as their primary source of protein intake because it's typically not complete proteins and you're going to end up lacking in total calories unless you're careful. But if you're starting from this is a common place where people are starting, I feel nauseous in the morning or I have no appetite. Those are both signs that your metabolism is suffering, and that's a part of your challenge on your fertility journey. Why you're not getting pregnant, or if you're getting pregnant, you're not staying pregnant. You're not hungry in the morning and or you're nauseous. Start with a protein shake, okay? So a good protein powder that we like, this is not sponsored, this is just literally the one that I like, and I've tried so many of them. Paleo Valley's got a really good vanilla bone broth protein powder. You can get unflavored or chocolate, whatever you like, depending on how you're making it. If you get the vanilla or chocolate, you can throw it in the blender with a little bit of ice. Milk is a great non-dairy milk that you can use because dairy can be inflammatory for some people. I don't recommend cutting it out for everyone across the board, but if you're having a lot of gut issues going on and you're not sure what the root cause of your inflammation is, it's a great idea to use an alternative. A lot of them have junk in them. So MALK, they have an organic almond milk that doesn't have a bunch of junk in it. Toss some ice, that in the blender. A banana, great source of potassium, which is a mineral we absolutely need for healthy thyroid, healthy adrenals, all equal healthy fertility. Okay, so you've got your ice, you've got the milk, you've got a banana in there so far, and then you throw the bone broth protein powder in. And what am I missing? So peanut butter is a great, like a nut butter, or another option I keep here to make, we use it to make some snacks, but is the brand is escaping me right now, but it's a dried peanut butter powder. It's organic. There's nothing else in it. There's no gunk or gums added to it. I'll use that sometimes if I don't, you guys are going to be like, she's so lazy. If I don't want to scrape the peanut butter off the spoon and clean it. So I'll use that, but make sure if you use the powder instead of a real nut butter that you're throwing some fat in there too. So throw some coconut oil or a little beef tallow in so that you've got some fat. And then you've got a balanced protein shake. That's a great place to start, or in a pinch when it's like, I don't have time. I have to be at a meeting earlier. I have to go to the airport or whatever it may be. You don't have time to do a full breakfast, or you're in that category of like, I'm not hungry in the morning. I don't want to eat before 11. I feel nauseous. Start with something like this every day. It's going to give you a good amount of protein in your morning, and it's going to give you some calories to set the stage for the day so that you can start getting closer to the 2,500 calories a day. Okay, so there's some ideas for breakfast. Again, guidelines are about 30 grams of protein, and you should be getting like 400, 500, 600 calories in your breakfast so that you're starting the day right. So if you start tracking on Chronometer for a few days and you're like, oh, I'm getting 250 calories in breakfast, or I'm getting the protein, but I'm only at like 280 calories, you're probably going to get nowhere near 2,500 calories for the day to set the stage for healthy hormones downstream. Okay, the other thing that is kind of the next layer that I like to take clients through is how often are you eating? So this is a big thing that people miss because again, most of our clients are incredibly smart. They're incredibly well educated. They've tried literally everything before they come to us. So most of them are already eating very clean, very quote unquote healthy. They're eating a lot of organic options. They've cut out a lot of the crap, if you will. Okay. If you haven't done that, that's okay. There's no judgment there, but you want to get rid of all the processed food in your diet. Basically, staying away, the easiest way to think about it is staying away from anything in a package is going to serve you well for the most part. This doesn't mean perfection. The goal is never perfection, but eating as many real whole foods as possible and buying organic produce and grass-fed and finished meats wherever possible, or pasture-raised chickens, that's going to be where you want to go with this. So this is assuming clean eating because I know most of you are already on that path in one way or another, or you should be and you try and this week's good and next week's not, but you generally know what you should be eating as far as unprocessed foods and staying away from refined sugars and not drinking alcohol or having a drink once in a while, all of that stuff. Okay, you need to be eating food every 4 hours at a minimum. And some people it looks like 3 hours, but I don't like clients, especially since the majority of them are not eating anywhere near enough to go more than 4 hours without eating. What happens a lot with our clients who come to us and they're eating super healthy, they're all busy working women. They might be moms of an older toddler, or they might have big jobs. They might travel. We'll eat a healthy breakfast maybe, and then not eat again until 3 o'clock, or they have coffee for lunch, or like on the weekends they'll say on the weekends I just forget to eat, and then they eat one big meal. That is also signaling to your body that your body doesn't know when it's going to get its next meal if you're keeping it guessing all the time. Okay, if you sometimes go 3 hours between meals and sometimes go 8 hours or 12 hours between meals, your body's like, I'm back here in survival mode. We aren't getting enough calories and I don't know when I'm going to get my next meal. So that's causing the downstream problems that are related to your fertility that we've been talking about here. So every 4 hours, you want to get something to eat. Everybody's schedule is a little bit different, so it depends on how your day looks. If you get up in the morning at 6 a.m. and you're out the door for work by 7:30, you should be getting breakfast somewhere in that window. Ideally eating breakfast within 30 to 60 minutes of getting up. And then you're looking at, let's say you ate breakfast at 6:30. Okay, I need a snack around 10:30 in the morning. What should that look like? Well, I tell clients to put together a list. This is the easiest way to do it. We'll give them a cheat sheet when they're working with us, but here's what you can do on your own is put together a list. Like, get a piece of paper or your notes on your phone and separate it into 3 columns: proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. And you start just listing a few of your favorites in each category. And proteins are going to be things like grass-fed beef stick, chicken. Animal proteins are going to be your best bet here for getting a micronutrient packed snack in and with your meals. We want a good amount of animal protein in our diet to support healthy hormone production. Okay. So ideally we're looking at some animal proteins, and then fats are going to be things like olive oil, coconut oil, avocado. Nut butters are mainly fats. They do have some protein in them for sure, but they're more of a fat than a protein. And then you want carbohydrates too. And a lot of people think of carbohydrates as like pastas, cereal, bagels, breads. Those are all processed carbohydrates. And look, again, we're not going for perfection, but you want to avoid processed carbohydrates as much as possible and stick to unprocessed carbohydrates. You know what those are? Those are produce. Unprocessed carbohydrates are going to be things like carrots and apples and bananas and potatoes. That is what you want to build your snacks around. Pick one from each category and you can throw together snacks really easily. It also doesn't have to be hard. If you like grass-fed beef sticks, there are a lot of great options on the market now that you can grab at the store, and you can throw that together with an apple. Like, that's a good place to start. If you're like, okay, the list, like, that sounds great, but that's too complicated. I can't wrap my brain around all of that. Do you like grass-fed beef sticks? Grab some of those at the market and have an apple with it. Do you like cottage cheese? Have some cottage cheese and maybe put some oranges on it, or pick something else that you like alongside of it. This doesn't have to be complicated, and you can grab the stuff ahead of time and keep it in your fridge for the week at work or at home. Okay, and so this is 10:30 in the morning. You've had your snack. Snacks don't look like 80 calories, y'all. And we see clients do this a lot where they're like, I had a snack, and then they start listing stuff and it's like 2 cuties. And it's like, cuties aren't bad for you, but you need to add, like, at a minimum, a handful of nuts with them. Okay, you don't have to have animal protein with every meal and every snack, but like the nuts have got some protein in them, and they're a good fat, and you ate the cuties with them. That'll get you a decent amount of calories in too. And it's signaling to your metabolic processes, to your thyroid, we're safe, we're getting enough to eat. We can count on her to feed us while we're awake about every 4 hours. Okay, now you're going to need to eat lunch at some point around, maybe it's 1 o'clock. Make sure your lunch also has 30 grams of protein in it, just like breakfast did, some healthy fats, and some unprocessed carbohydrates. Then what does that look like? That's 1:30. Are you going to eat dinner by 5:30, or do you need an afternoon snack? And then make sure your dinner, same rules of thumb, 30 grams of protein, good fats, and unprocessed carbohydrates. One thing I've been loving lately, personally, because I'm busy, I'm working in my practice, I have kids that are busy now, I'm running all over all the time, and dinner is the bane of my existence, right? It is like, what are we going to have for dinner? I don't want to mess with cooking, like the prep. That makes my brain hurt a lot at this stage of life. I started ordering Sunbasket again recently. I tried them a few years ago, hadn't ordered it in a while. Their meals are amazing because you get a protein in it at the right serving. So protein really should look, a serving of protein should look like the size of a deck of cards. It's not a ton, right? So we're not talking about like eating a giant steak all the time. And they also incorporate a ton, hence the name Sunbasket, a ton of different produce in that, like, I just, even with all of my knowledge, have a hard time building those kinds of plates without somebody doing all the prep, the thinking, the prep, and all of that. So check into options like that. I know there's a bunch of them out there. If you can find one like Sunbasket that focuses on organic and grass-fed meats where possible, even better. Costco has some pre-made options that are good. Keep it simple for yourself so you'll actually do it. I have a client right now who worked with us last year, and one of her biggest barriers after working through all the biochemical things that came back on her lab tests, one of her biggest barriers to getting to a successful pregnancy was that we had such a hard time getting her to eat enough and getting her to eat consistently throughout the day. And so we started with, like, what do you like to eat for lunch? And she's like, well, I like these, I think it was bag salads from Costco. Great. Can you put some protein on it? Pick your protein. You want to put chicken or shrimp or beef or whatever you want to put on there. Okay. Put some protein on it, salmon. And I don't care if you eat that every day of the week. Get in the habit of your body getting enough nourishment before you worry too much about, like, I got to get all of these different things and I need all of the colors of the rainbow and everything needs to look perfect. And did I get at least 40% of my calories from carbs? Forget all of that stuff for now and get to consistency in a way that feels easy to you. And it's going to be different for all of you because you're all at different parts of your journey. But if you're like this client that we worked with last year who just was like, you guys, when she was working with us, there were multiple times in the program where she was banging her head against the wall. I don't think this is working. I don't know if I'm making any progress. I don't know what I'm doing. Am I going to be one of the people who just doesn't get pregnant? And I kept saying, you are making progress because we've seen these improvements for you, and for you to jump the hill to the other side and get to a successful pregnancy. This was a secondary infertility case, and her oldest was getting older and older, and that's its own special kind of hard. If you're in that season, I feel you. I went through it, and a lot of our clients have. She was like, in her mind, like, this is maybe never going to happen. And I'm like, I know that you have a hard time, and I know some of you listening probably think the same. You have a hard time believing that some of these nutritional things are your last barrier to getting there. But I promise you that it is. And look, she had some other things that we had to work through biochemically in her body. Don't get me wrong, it was not just nutrition, but we were already doing that work because we had her lab results, we had her customized protocols. Once we got her to lock in on nutrition and actually consistently eat, and again, she started with these super basic lunches that were like, but I shouldn't eat that every day, right? Yeah, you should eat whatever you're going to actually eat. And then we could talk about mixing it up. She is successfully pregnant now. And when she sent us her positive pregnancy test, she's like, is it weird that I have a hard time actually believing that this is real? And it's like, no, that's normal. And I knew you would get there. I knew you would get there once we got over the hump on the nutrition side of things. So, anyway, there's always more to go into on nutrition. We can keep going deeper. We'll have future episodes on this topic, but I'll wrap for now with those tips. Take what you can away, and just know when we're working with our clients, we always say, like, let's take this one step at a time. Some of you are going to be like, I can do 4 things at once. I can do these 4 things next week, and you're actually going to successfully do it. But if this feels overwhelming to you, start with one thing. Go back through the episode and be like, I'm doing this one thing next week. And then when you get consistent with that for 2 or 3 weeks, add another one in. And the nutrition piece is going to move the needle in a really, really big way. If you're looking for extra support, a lot of what we do in our program with our clients, beyond the biochemical work that comes back on what's going on in your gut, what do detox pathways look like? What about your thyroid? What about micronutrients and minerals? What about your adrenals? What about your hormones? Beyond that, a lot of the work is around nutrition. And within those protocols, fixing a lot of what we find biochemically has a nutrition component. So don't sleep on nutrition. If you need help with this and you're looking for someone to help you with a customized plan of action to figure out what your unique body actually needs, reach out to me over on Instagram. See if you're a good fit for our VIP program. We are opening up 5 spots for April. And this is a chance for you to run all of the functional labs to get specific customized nutrition guidance as well as customized protocols. And we have about an 80% success rate for clients who come in and work the program getting to a successful pregnancy. Okay, thank you all for listening. I hope you have a great rest of your week.